Hello and welcome back to another episode. Today's episode is a Q&A and I am so excited. These questions are very juicy and these were questions that were submitted on my Instagram stories a few weeks back. And if you want to make sure that you have your questions answered in a future podcast episode, make sure to stay make sure to tune into my stories so that you don't miss out on any question boxes and opportunities to ask questions that will be answered in these episodes. So, with all that being said, I don't want to waste any time because there are a lot of questions. I want to get to as many as possible. First question is how to utilize pinned posts on Instagram. All right, so I see pinned posts in two different places, right? So you have your feed and then you have your Reels tab. So you have six pinned post opportunities. What are you going to do about your pinned posts on your feed? I recommend doing one of your pinned posts that's something about you. This is either your story, your background, something that is inspiring, motivating, something that is connected to you. So when people watch that, they feel more connected to you. The second thing that I would recommend pinning to your feed pinned posts is one post that relates to the main topic that you share on your Instagram account and directs people to an offer. So this could be a call to action statement that directs people to an offer. If it's a carousel post, maybe it's the last slide that has information about your offer. Whatever it is, either way is great. Just make sure that there's something that directs people to an offer. And then that third and final piece of content that you're going to pin on your feed is going to be a popular post. And this popular could be there was a bunch of comments. Popular could be that there were a bunch of people who messaged you saying that they're really grateful for you posting it. Popular could be the amount of views that it got. Like popular could be a lot of different things. And so, however you want to interpret that is that third piece of content that I recommend pinning to your feed. And then the three pieces of content that I recommend pinning on your Reels tab are one reel for each of your content pillars. And you might have more than three content pillars. That's okay. If that is the case, maybe utilizing those other two posts that are on your feed. So, your one post that relates to the main topic that you share, and then your one popular post, maybe those could be your other two content pillars. If that is the case, if you have more than three content pillars, but on your Reels tab, you want to have one reel for each of your content pillars. So, thinking about those main topics that you hit on. So that way, when people go to your Reels tab or they just go to your account in general, that is very top of mind. And they're like, oh, okay, I'm sampling what I'm going to get when I go through the rest of your content. So that's what I recommend in terms of utilizing your pin post. The next question is how would you scale your business if you didn't have Instagram success? Now, there's something that I want to say first before I actually answer this question, and that is that there are three really important things that you need to do in order to have a successful business. The first is that you need to have visibility. If people do not know about your business, it doesn't matter how great your business is, it doesn't matter how great your offers are, it doesn't matter how great you are, it doesn't matter how great your content is. If there is no visibility, you are not going to have a successful business. And this is applicable to any business. If you're a brick and mortar business, if you are an online business, like visibility is so important. So I'd say that's probably, in my opinion, one of the most important things. And I guess I shouldn't say that these are necessarily in like order of the most important to like least important, but I would just say like these are like the top three most important things for having a successful business. So number one is visibility. The second one is having a good offer. If you don't have a good offer, or I should say service, then it doesn't matter how visible you are. People are not going to keep coming back. People are going to leave bad reviews. Your business is not going to grow. Or if you don't have a good offer, it's probably going to be pretty hard to market that offer. And if you're not marketing and selling your offer well, then people are not joining and therefore you're not growing your business. And then the third thing is having good sales skills. I would say that this is probably, if I had to say one thing as the most important thing for a successful business, I would say that this is it. Having good sales skills is the most important thing for a successful business. So again, you have visibility, you have a good offer, and you have good sales skills. If you have those things, you can build a successful business. So now going back to the question, which is how would you scale your business if you didn't have Instagram success? Instagram is one of those pieces, right? One of those three pieces. How does Instagram fit in? It fits, I guess technically Instagram could fit in two of those different places, but Instagram fits in my head mainly in terms of visibility, right? It's getting eyes on your business. That is what social media in general is mainly utilized for in terms of business strategy. You could also say that Instagram could be used to sell your offer as well, which ties into the third one, which is having good sales skills. But for the sake of this example and answering this question, I'm going to mainly focus on visibility. So if you didn't have Instagram success, I would say either focus more on Instagram so that you do have success on there, so that you do have that visibility. Or I would say maybe you're not having Instagram success because that's not where your ideal customer or your ideal client resides. And that honestly could truthfully be the case. I see a lot of people who are so hyper focused on growing on Instagram. And don't get me wrong, I love Instagram, obviously. I've built a very successful business on there and I teach people how to do that. But sometimes it's simply that your audience, your ideal customer, is not on Instagram. And so maybe looking at other platforms and seeing if you can grow there. For example, when I was on the panel as a guest speaker at the Kajabi event, one of the people that was on my panel, who is absolutely fantabulous, he has built his business mainly through LinkedIn. And so that is where his people are. And he doesn't have a huge Instagram account, at least not at the time of the event happening. Maybe he has grown since then. I haven't checked in. But LinkedIn is his platform. And maybe if he was trying to grow on Instagram, and I'm not saying this is not necessarily the case, but for the sake of this example, maybe he was trying to grow on Instagram and Instagram, he wasn't having a lot of success on there because that's not where his people were. But his people maybe were on LinkedIn instead, and so that's why he was seeing success on there. That's the conversation in terms of visibility is you need to have a visibility piece in your business in order for it to succeed. How would I scale my business if I didn't have Instagram success? I would find another platform to have success on, or I would focus more on Instagram to have success. And I truly believe, I would say for 95% of businesses, Instagram is the best place that you could possibly be. That being said, though, there is still that 5% where Instagram might not be the best place for you to be, and that's totally fine too. Or maybe it's just not the place that you want to be. And so that's a whole nother conversation as well. But I'm getting off on tangents here and I want to make sure I answer some more questions. So that's how I would scale my business is I would either focus more on Instagram so I could grow, or I'd find another platform where I could have visibility. The next question is, how do you deal with spam and bot comments? I personally delete them. I find them super annoying. And also, I don't know, Instagram, huh, there's always something that's whack on Instagram. And for me right now, bot and spam comments are literally, I will post something and I kid you not, I will get 75 bot and spam comments and I don't even use like a hashtag on that post. And I'm like, how do you even find me? I'll go through and I'll block all of them and I'll delete them and I'll report them. Anyways, so I delete them. I don't know. It just clutters up my comment section. I think it looks unprofessional to have all of those in your comment section. And people are like, oh, yeah, it's really great for engagement and all of that. I personally, I don't think that it's worth it to have those comments on there. It's also not harmful to delete those comments. And I know I'm gonna get asked that question, so that's why I said that. I personally have seen zero correlation between the success of my Instagram posts and deleting a bunch of bot and spam comments. That's just my take on that. But ultimately, I can see both sides of it where it's, yeah, this is great for engagement, but it's to what point? I think if you have like one or two of them and you leave them on there, I don't think that's the end of the world. Unless you have no other comments from actual human beings, then I would probably delete those too, just so that way when someone goes in there, it's not just bot and spam comments, because again, I just think it looks a little bit unprofessional. But if you have 5 comments from actual people in your community and 1 or 2 bot and spam comments, not the end of the world to keep them there. But if it's in my case where I have like 75 comments coming in and I only have like 15 from real people, I'm like, yeah, of course, I'm definitely going to delete those. All right. Next question is, what do you do when you're feeling overwhelmed from too much to do, thus doing nothing at all? All right, I'm going to be brutally honest with you here. You are self sabotaging your success. My suggestion for you would be to dig deeper into this. Do you feel overwhelmed because of too much to do, or because you don't know what to do to hit your goals? Or do you lack a plan? Or do you feel like if you take action, you won't see any success? There's usually, not all the time, but usually in my experience, there's an underlying problem that goes beyond overwhelm. So again, I encourage you to dig deeper into this. Why? Why do you feel overwhelmed? Why are you not taking action? Now, that being said, my two biggest tips, if you're like, I'm actually just genuinely feeling overwhelmed, my two biggest tips break down your to do list into bite sized pieces versus looking at everything at once. The beginning of this year, I was inside of a mastermind, and the mastermind was so powerful. I loved my experience in there, but I walked away with so many things that I was like, okay, I need to implement this and change this and do this. And like my to do list was legit like 50 tasks long. And I was totally in this stage of overwhelm. And then I wasn't doing anything because I was so overwhelmed. And what I did, this is genuinely what I did is I broke up those tasks into not just bite-sized pieces, but instead of me looking at it from a list of like 50 different things to do, I was like, "Hey, what are like 3 main things that I can do each month?" Like 1 to 3 main things depending on like the actual size of how long that task was going to take me, and how could I break those up? And so I broke these different that list of 50 tasks, I broke them up into 1 to 3 tasks to do per month to focus on, which has been so helpful for me because I get so overwhelmed when I look at this list. I'm like, here are 50 things I need to do. And then you check off one, or maybe you don't even check off one that day. And then you're like, oh, I didn't even accomplish anything that day, even though you technically did accomplish things. But looking at that list, you're like, I didn't accomplish anything. So that's my tip number one. My tip number two is to never start the day without a plan. So plan out tomorrow at the end of your day today. I see so many people who start their day and they're like, "What am I going to do today? What should I do today?" It's that's you're wasting time. Have a plan before the day even starts, and it's going to give you so much clarity moving into that day. And you're going to not sit down and look at that huge list of things that you need to do because you already sat down and looked at that huge list of things that you needed to do at the end of the day and you planned for tomorrow based off of maybe your 1 to 3 main tasks that you needed to do that day. And so looking at it from, like, the bigger scale, I do 1 to 3 main tasks that are, like, the bigger tasks, so I'm talking, like, maybe I need to go in and update, like, my website, or maybe I need to go in and create a freebie. Those would be, like, bigger tasks in my head. I have 1 to 3 of those per month, but then also on a day-to-day basis, I also only have 1 to 3 tasks that I focus on. And so that way, I'm not feeling overwhelmed with, "Here are the 10 things I need to accomplish today," and then I only accomplish 3 of them, and then I leave the day and I'm like, "I feel like I failed." That has been really helpful for me is having those, like, 1 to 3 big main tasks per month and then, like, smaller tasks to do on a day-to-day basis, still keeping it, like, in that 1 to 3 range. Alright, next question is, how do you know what to price your offers at? Whew, this is a loaded question, and it totally depends on so many factors like the type of offer, the value of the offer, how much access the student has to you, your industry, your experience, the demand, and the list goes on and on. So, this would be more of a conversation that I would have to have with you one on one to be able to say, yeah, this is exactly how you should price your offers, or this is what I recommend for you. That being said, though, what I'll introduce to you is the power of the offer suite. And so the offer suite is something that I talk about inside of scalability really in depth as to how to price out offers strategically, having different offers and different levels. But I'm just going to speak on this generally because, for the sake of conversation, I could spend probably 10 hours just talking about offer suite. And we don't have 10 hours here. So now, these numbers totally depend on your business and your industry, but generally, this is where the offer suite plays in. So you have low, mid, and high ticket offers. So your low ticket offers are usually up to $150. Your mid ticket offers are usually around 200 to like 800-ish dollars, and then your high ticket is usually around like 1,000 plus dollars. And generally, inside of these categories, so you have your 3 categories, you have your below, your mid, and your high, and again, these are just tiers of different offers at different price points. Generally, you'll see that these different types of offers fall underneath each category in your offer suite. So in your low ticket, you'll usually see like ebooks, templates, mini courses, master classes. Mid ticket, you'll usually see courses, bundles of offers, memberships, programs, and then your high ticket, you'll usually see one-on-one coaching, masterminds, mini minds, retreats. So again, this is all generally speaking, totally depends on your niche, your business, so many different things here. But the power of the offer suite is that you have these different tiers to focus on. So that way, like not all of your offers are